Perfect.
All right, we good?
Yep. Good to go.
Let's do it.
Welcome to Fresh Out. I'm Jason. That's not it. I gotta believe it. I have to believe it.
You gotta believe it, dude.
That was not.
You gotta
believable.
live it.
I have to live it. I have to feel it. Welcome to Fresh Out. I'm JC.
And I'm Cood.
And we're fresh out of Beetlejuice.
Don't say it a third time, dude.
Fuck.
That was so close.
That was really close.
Chill out, dude.
He almost popped through the screen. It looked like
he's waiting, dude. He's just like, are they gonna say it?
Oh man, I'm more afraid of his teeth right now, to be honest. But
oh man. So, what do we start with this, dude?
Man, all right. Well, Beetlejuice. Not to say a third time. There was the first one. There was the second one. What's the difference? We'll get into that.
Are they gonna make a third?
Yeah,
are they gonna make a
third?
Beetlejuice?
You
know what I mean?
You know, I think the jury's still out on that one. Yeah.
No spoilers, but I don't think they left it open for a third anyway.
I think that's fair.
But then the first, they really didn't leave it open anyway. Either.
True.
Yeah,
they didn't close. I mean, if you think about kind of the narrative they created, which we'll talk a little bit about, this is going to be not as much of a spoiler this time
Yeah, we're not
going
to go scene to scene on this one because we don't want to like really do every review spoilers.
Yeah. We're going to keep it general. We're going to, go through the things that we thought were important, good and bad. Yeah. And we're going to give you our opinion fresh out of this. Some people might call it a masterpiece. Some people might not.
Masterpiece?
Nah,
who are they?
They're not.
I need their numbers so I can call them up, dude. Masterpiece?
No.
Masterpiece
We're not calling
in
it
filmmaking. Tim Burton's back, baby. Like, no. So where are we going to start? We're going to start with cinematography and storyboard. Story soundtrack.
Yes, that's a good race.
Yeah, that's
a good
what
place
it
to
was.
start.
Yeah. So what did you think about the look and feel of the movie? What did you think?
Okay. So I think this is gonna be a hot topic for a lot of people. You have Tim Burton. He's done so much if you think about it, like Alice in Wonderland, right?
Alice in Wonderland? You just went to the weakest movie.
I know, but I'm talking about for cinematography.
Okay.
Like as far as visual.
Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah. Edward Scissorhands.
You're like Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass, one of his best. It's like, what?
I'm trying to appeal to the mainstream.
Yeah, okay,
No,
to the young kids.
Yeah. But
this isn't a kids show.
More for the visuals is what was my.
So
reference
Alice
to.
in Wonderland was pretty cool though.
Yeah.
I like
visually, I would say.
Yeah, I like that.
But no, it's a good point. So we take kind of Tim Burton from Edward Scissorhands, which was more the Beetlejuice type of vibe, where it was kind of that indie. It
old
was
school Tim
raw.
Burton.
It was old school.
Nightmare Before Christmas. Like that vibe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, goth. Like gothy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you fast forward this many years later, right? I think like 35. We were talking about it
It's
before.
like 36 years
maybe 36
later, dude,
or something like that.
I think Beetlejuice came out in 88.
88. You're right. It was 88.
88.
And so if we think about that journey of where he started and where he is, right? He's definitely more Hollywood now just because of the success he's found, and that was mainly the reason why I mentioned Alice. But it was more to show the contrast of, I think, what a lot of people will say about this new Beetlejuice, in that I think he tried to remain true to himself and his roots and his creativity from the original Beetlejuice and that kind of vibe, but it had that Hollywood polish on it that kind of tried to play it safe in both audiences, which can sometimes be a little detrimental. You run the risk of not being able to please either audience fully, and then you have criticisms from both. Yeah. But not to say I feel like there was a lot of great things it did. It just felt like sometimes it didn't know which camp to be in.
Okay, that's a good point. So with the so the first thing that hit me was it had the opening sequence, and we're not going to go scene to scene, but it had an opening sequence that was kind of reminiscent of the first movie, where it was showing the town, or like doing like a bird's eye view of flying through the town, and it was kind of a long opening sequence, just like on the first movie, where You know, it had the feel of it. And overall, aesthetically, I would say that it was pretty close to the feel, but it may just be like the other one is just so old, so it has a not grimier look to it, but a more. He had a lot of the same feel, and a lot of the shots, a lot of the framings that he had on the shots, and a lot of just the color palettes that he was using. A lot of practical effects, like we were talking about, like a lot of practical effects. He had the same feel, but to me, it was kind of a sterilized version of it. Like it was very crispy. It was like okay, so that movie came out in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
This was a 4K version.
Of
Beetlejuice. You know what I mean? So it kind of lost the filter effect of like just I don't know, it's very clean.
I think, and also I would add it translated into the score a little bit as well. Probably overall, but I think it was a little bit noticeable, and I think when we were watching, you even kind of mentioned.
So once the score started going in the beginning, I immediately was like, this sounds too clean.
Yeah.
Like it didn't sound like, because on the first one, on the 88, you had the violins were like screeching.
Screeching.
This one was more like refined and cleaner sounding, and that's the overall feel of the movie to me. With the score, it still had the, you know, like, okay, so like on the old score, it had boom, 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 stuff like that, where it was just like bun, 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 bun. This one was more like just digital or something. I don't know. I didn't feel it as much as the original, and I don't want to base this movie against the original. But at the same time, you have the same director, and you have the same composer, Danny Elfman, and it's kind of like, I want them to keep some of that raw edginess, right? And this kind of was like, I would say the first one was a steak knife, and this one was, I'm not going to say a butter knife, but it was definitely not a good steak knife. This was a dollar store steak knife edginess with just like the look and the sound of it. And it was weird because a lot of YouTubers were saying like, oh man, the music spot on. And from the jump, like I turned to JC and I was just like, this sounds too it sounds too clean. It sounds too crispy. He added in some other elements like that weren't on the original to make it a different feel. And it just, to me, I'm old though. I'm old, and I like the older sound of like it just being a little bit more raw and eerie and just like rambunctious feeling. This one was not as rambunctious.
The energy that it would bring, like, and we actually realized we both watched the original just recently in preparation
like
for watching this new one. And there's just this different kind of energy, and I think that comes with, I think generally, no matter how hard you try, it's going to be really hard to make a sequel that is going to compare
35
to the
years later.
35 years later, all
like
the
you're
hype.
bringing these people back together.
You have like the majority of the cast. There's only a few cast members that aren't missing, and even in that regard, like we still see them, and you'll see that when you watch the movie. You'll know what we mean. But to kind of try and reinvigorate that same energy that was so beloved.
The origin. So this is what it was. I pinpointed it right now while you're talking.
Yeah.
It's the originality of that first film. They are trying to capture. It turns from originality into nostalgia.
Yeah.
And so the nostalgia of it is never going to be as good as the original, right? But then at the same time, the nostalgia version of how it looked and how it sounded, you have to think about the old one and say like, yeah, it was a new idea and it was a new thing, and it just is, it's a different feel. It's just a different feel. And if you like that feel of them changing the theme song a little bit, because it's the same notes. Like technically it's the same theme song, it's just a little different. And for me personally, it was not a difference that I feel like needed to be added upon or anything like that. But then this is Beetlejuice, so I guess you got to double up. You got to add in some extra sounds.
The double-edged sword, right? You don't want to be the same, because then what's the point in making it? But you don't want to be so different that you lose the essence of what made you love it in the first place.
So this is a gripe too. I felt like, why did this movie need to be made? And that was by the end of the movie. I walked out. I was just like.
So this is where we differed a little. I don't know that I would put it all the way to that level, but I could see why, because I think.
So what was the synopsis?
Yeah. Let's get into that.
What was the main story?
So let's keep it as general as possible.
Yeah.
Synopsis was, there is a death in the family, right? Yeah. And you'll see who that is, and you'll see the involvement there. Yeah. And so this death in the family brings the majority of the family together, which if you know the cast members, we got, Winona Ryder, we have Catherine O'Hara,
Lydia Dietz, and then Delia is the mom.
Delia's the mom,
And she has a daughter now.
And then now she has a daughter, Astrid, who's played by Jenna Ortega.
Yep, Jenna Ortega.
And
who's cool in this. I liked. So the acting was cool.
Yeah. So this death brings the family together, and then they're back in the old house, and
she has a TV show.
She has a TV show now.
So she's doing one of those hokey medium shows where she's the psychic and she
the ghost
tells
house,
the people.
I think it's called or something.
Like they're in the attic where everything started.
Yep.
And she has on guests, and she's like talking to the guests. She has that type of show where she's like, I can talk to your loved ones type of thing. So she's kind of went Hollywood. And you made a good point when you said that she's kind of Hollywood, like Tim Burton went Hollywood. You know what I mean? Because she was edgy in the beginning. In the first one, she's all, Lydia's all like,
she doesn't care at all, and she's
I want to kill myself, or she's writing poems about like committing suicide.
Yeah, and she's like confiding in the spirits to be like, hey, take me with you. Exactly. How can I be one of you?
She wants to die. And so now it's an older Lydia where she's just accepted that, she can see ghosts and stuff.
And her daughter thinks it's a total fake
sham.
Fugazi.
Yeah, her daughter thinks it's a total
like,
sham.
You're just trying to grab some money and make a living off like this.
Her daughter's like the hipsters, where it's just like, dude, you used to be
and
cool.
Jenna Ortega is really good at capturing that essence, because I feel like in most of her roles, she's like, wow, I'm so much cooler, and she is. She pulls it off. Get props to her. Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
So we've got the defiant daughter, we've got the mom, and then the soon-to-be, potentially soon to be
fiance
or
are they
boyfriend.
Even fiancés at the
beginning? I think
know.
Once we
maybe
that was a spoiler, but
that's
not really a spoiler.
They have been in a relationship for long enough to where they kind of skip the fiance phase.
Yeah, well,
they are fiancé. They've been together for a long time. They've been together for some years.
Yeah. And he's the producer on the show that he
helps her with the show.
Yeah, I believe.
And he's one of these, and he's a character where he's like, your trauma.
Yeah,
and he's using all the buzzwords.
Justin Theroux does the best job of being.
He uses all the buzzwords from TikTok.
I kind of wonder if they just wrote down, okay, think of every buzzword you can think of, and let's make sure we put
They went on TikTok
script.
for one day and just scrolled through the TikTok psychologists. Psychiatrists.
When you feel bad, that makes me feel bad.
Exactly.
And then somehow it's like you're gaslighting her into making you feel all about you. Like, okay, we see it.
He was hitting all the check boxes of like flags.
It was laughable purposefully.
All red flags.
Yeah.
He was exaggerated. He was an exaggerated version.
Yep.
Which was cool, because Beetlejuice is supposed to be exaggerated. It's an exaggerated universe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so they did still have exaggerated characters. They did have an exaggerated things happening. So that was all cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
And so then when we kind of explore, this kind of new family dynamic being presented to us, they're back in the old house, but in a different capacity. The daughter isn't believing a word of what her mom says and does, so she is more interested. Okay, well, like now this defiance is turning into kind of curiosity, I would say, like as the film goes on, to kind of see, is there proof what's on the other side, and I don't know how organically it happens, but we always know the juice is going to find a way to get loose.
The juice is getting loose.
Whether it's a flyer of him, doing something.
Yeah, it did start with the.
Because I feel like in the original film,
Yeah, the original film had a flyer that they saw. The Maitlands saw the original couple.
Yeah, he tries to find a problem and solve it, right?
Yeah.
The way that he always does, which is hilarious.
And it's funny too because when they finally get to the Beetlejuice parts, he's like an office guy now. Like he's working in an office, like he's just kicking it. Like, so he's like he's leveled up a little bit in terms of like corporate. He's a corporate Beetlejuice.
Yes,
right?
he's a corporate Beetlejuice.
Yeah, he's a corporated Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
so
and you'll see like he has a fleet of.
Yeah, he's got a team. He's got a team that works
Yeah,
with
you'll
him.
see you'll see his team.
And you will definitely recognize his team when you see them. You're going to be like, oh, he's got a team of these guys.
I've seen this guy in the lobby before.
Yeah, exactly, point, right? Exactly, right.
And that was another part of like the practical effects. I'm like, man.
So we didn't hit on the practical effects, but definitely the practical effects. So these are things that even though it was a sanitized version to me, it was a sanitized version of the original ideas. They kept things practical.
Yeah.
And that was good. It looked better. It wasn't CGI stuff. Like I even think, because everybody should know that there's going to be sandworms in this movie. It's a
sure.
movie,
It's
right?
in the trailer too.
But so the sandworms did not look digital. They still looked kind of clay. They still looked kind of stop motion.
Yes.
It was a better version.
Yes.
It was a better version than the first, but it did not look computer generated.
No, not at all.
So the practical effects, so
those will come into play. There's going to be a lot of shocking moments, and like that, I think we both agreed it was like a great part of what kind of you can still like capture the essence of the film and do new things that are still shocking and funny and all the
there are some shocking things because like throughout the movie so with the storyline just while we're on the storyline just to give an overview of like my complaint about the storyline, it kind of felt like in the 36 years they probably had so many different drafts of a Beetlejuice sequel. Mm-hmm. Right?
I could see
and
that,
so Tim Burton's just, no, shooting it down. So they finally came up with a draft that took a little bit of this from that, a little bit of this from that script that was thrown away, a little bit of this script. Overall, the storyline of this, I'm not going to say that it's forgettable, but I will say that there's a lot of things that happen that really we just got out and I really can't even like really remember in terms of like it's like they balled up a whole bunch of paper balls in their hand with ideas on it and then just threw it at a whiteboard and saw what stuck up there and they were like, okay, we're gonna go with these or something, right?
And I agree with you, but I also would say like, and I talked to one of my close friends about this as well, like in anticipation of Beetlejuice and like Tim Burton as a director, stuff like that. And some advice he told me whenever I'm watching a film is, what is the intent of the director? What are they trying to achieve? And I think if we think about that a little bit more, as far as like Tim Burton, the story maybe wasn't quite there. And I actually agree with you on this because there are some plot points that you could poke holes in if you wanted to, some things that had some simple solutions to some complex problems. But the essence of what he was trying to do, I absolutely respect, and the craziness, the chaoticness, kind of I think requires you to throw just a little bit of some stuff at the wall.
It's Beetlejuice, so you have to like throw in some crazy nonsense, and that's all good. But at the same time, I think maybe it was just a little too all over the place. Whereas the first movie was kind of focused on the Maitlands, the original couple that died and are in the house. They had a beginning where they died, a middle where they needed help to scare people out of their house, and the end was eventually just accepting Lydia as their own or whatever, getting rid of the parents or whatever. But there was kind of like there was a beginning, middle, and end, and this movie had multiple beginnings, multiple middles, and multiple ends.
And it opened
literally.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that's fair.
Yeah, it
for
was
the better and for worse, I would say.
And it introduced new characters, so it had to have a storyline for them, but at the same time, it was just kind of like. And every character I cared about, I guess. Maybe not Beetlejuice's wife as much.
Yeah. So, and I think I would say, like, in a way, they pulled her in, and they kind of knew what to do with her, but not really.
And she was a cool. So when she appears or whatever, she starts like stapling herself, like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
And I love Nightmare Before Christmas. On this wall in back of us, I have the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack vinyl. Like, that's one of my favorite movies ever, right? And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is kind of like Sally. She's kind of like all put together, and she's like sewn up and stuff. So I liked her design of her character, but they never really went into depth of like her character.
Yeah, and I think the main reason they brought her character in was to show Beetlejuice's backstory.
That's
right?
what it was.
Yeah.
So they needed a character to show Beetlejuice's backstory.
They say, what is his origin? How did he become Beetlejuice? Because
but even in his backstory, she didn't have any. They didn't really go into.
It was like one flashback, right? And that was pretty much it. And like
it was a cool flashback.
It was a cool flashback.
Yeah, it was a cool
sure.
flashback.
Yeah,
it was cool. It showed like where he came from.
But I agree with you in that I would say like I thought she was going to get utilized way more. Like it was kind of like
because she was in the movie even less than Beetlejuice, and Beetlejuice is not in this movie a lot.
And and so I think, and this is another thing is we kind of watch certain things, and I saw a review from I saw a interview from Michael Keaton, and he was talking about like, oh, I was talking with Tim Burton. And like we were agreeing on all the same things. Beetlejuice shouldn't be in that much. We don't want to oversaturate it, and we want to stick to practical effects. So practical effects, spot on. Beetlejuice, I think actually I wish he was in it more. Like
so
Michael
that was
Keaton
the thing.
killed it. And
that was the thing. Man. So in the original movie, you had Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, and those characters were interesting.
Yeah.
In this movie, they had to make over-the-top new characters, but they weren't as interesting as Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin. They weren't as interesting. Like, I didn't care about her husband or her wanted to be husband or whatever. I didn't care about him, Thoreau.
Or they're just like living people.
I didn't care about Beetlejuice's wife.
Yeah.
And then they had
and Willem Dafoe.
Who
was great.
He was cool, but was he needed? I don't know. Like, so that's where I come in, where it's just like the storyline is kind of a lot of things in it.
Yeah.
Right? And nothing really stuck with me personally where I was like, this was very memorable. Like, I remember scenes of the movie, but overall storyline, a lot of the motivations and stuff like that, like, I can't really remember, like, does Astrid, the daughter, is she the one that wants Beetlejuice back, or what? Like, I don't even remember the original why Beetlejuice is needed.
Well, right? and it's like the need was coming from, I think, a few different characters, because it would kind of like, okay, this time this character needs Beetlejuice. Okay, this time we're considering, but I'm like not sure.
It was the boyfriend.
Yeah.
That messed up and was like, we need to work through this.
He was.
I think that's on the trailers though, where he's just like, we need to work through this together.
I know, and then they're in therapy together. Yeah, I don't think that's spoiling anything.
So then he's like, the one that brings Beetlejuice the first time.
Something like, oh, like
they see the flyer.
I want to see what's inside. He's like, I'll go first. Then he's like, and it's all the crazy thing.
So,
like, I think, and I don't think we need to go too much more into the plot in that it shows his backstory. They bring him in. Yeah. Is he a villain? Does he save the day?
So on this one, the first one, he was a villain.
He felt more like a villain. This one, I feel like they kind of gave him some redeeming moments, but he still got the same intent.
He still is the villain.
He still needs some Lydia Dietz in his life.
Yeah, exactly. So that is the main plot.
Which I'm not going to hate on him. Winona Ryder. I mean,
she's still hot. Yeah. And so That is the overall scope of the film. Is in the first one, he wanted to marry Lydia.
Yep.
Right. The second one, he still wants to marry Lydia.
Yep.
So he's still a creep. He's even older.
Oh yeah.
Even though she's in her 50s
He's been thinking
now,
about it for 36 years.
Yeah, even though she's in her 50s now, he's still like hundreds of years old. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
But like plot was it was a little convoluted, but I feel like all new movies are convoluted anyway.
Yeah.
They just throw so much in there that like that's when you know you're watching a good movie, when it's not a whole bunch of characters and a whole bunch of mess going on, where you're like focusing on straight up what is the general idea of this? Mm-hmm. How is it acted upon? And what is the beginning, middle, and conclusion? This one was a little muddy for me. There was times where my brain was turning off and I was kind of like falling out of it, where I was like, all right, man, put Beetlejuice back in there, dude.
Yeah, I think, the more I think about it too, I think it was like the story there was too many openings and not enough conclusions. But they still wanted...
Or too many fast conclusions, too.
And fast conclusions.
Along the way,
yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Along the way...
Too many fast conclusions.
Like, so they would start these storylines because Astrid meets a boy or whatever, and then things happen with that whole thing.
Yep.
And I think people that are paying attention will notice things immediately in that storyline, where it's just like, what? Yeah. So you're going to notice things, and so the conclusion of their thing was pretty fast. The conclusion of, it was tying up loose ends pretty quick.
Yeah.
Even the end.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give away anything, but even the end kind of wrapped it up in 5 minutes.
It didn't. Yeah.
It was like a 10-minute ending.
So I think it. Like we talk about, if it's the payoff you're waiting for, then you probably will find you'll probably have some qualms with this when you watch it. But I think what it is it's trying to create this narrative that they want you to care about, so that takes time. But then he's also trying to jam in all of those things that you loved about the original.
Yeah.
And so that's why it feels overstuffed, because it's like, we have to stick to this runtime. Otherwise, we could try to give more time to care, but then it's going to be less time for the Easter eggs and all of the things that really we want to watch.
The Easter eggs, just to go back to like the overall feel of the movie, the Easter eggs are actually done cool. Like the lobby is the same type of lobby from the first one, where it's you got some dead people in there, you got a burned up dude,
some old settings,
yeah. So like just a little, just a little too crispy. A little too crisp.
I would say and you.
It had some cool cameos too from people that I had no idea were going to be in there, like the janitor.
Yeah, the janitor.
Yeah,
exactly. Good one. That was a good
really cool little short cameo. You know what I mean? Like, had some cool stuff.
And I think if we really focus on the acting, I mean, everybody played their role.
Yeah, everybody played their role. It definitely had the feel of Beetlejuice, but just the convoluted storyline of just like tossing in new characters and all this stuff. And you need new characters. I'm not saying that you don't need new characters in a new movie. But at the same time, all these characters have a storyline that we're following, and it's just like 5 different storylines that we're following, and then it just kind of starts getting where it's like,
you're like, where's
tiring.
Beetlejuice?
By the end of it, you wanted to see more Beetlejuice.
And you like, we were about to just start saying in the theater, just Beetlejuice.
Yeah, like, bring them in, dude.
Come on.
Come in, bro.
Get in here.
Like, you need, they should have put him in just a tad more.
How could you say no to that face?
If they would have gave him 10 minutes more and just sprinkled him throughout.
A little more sprinkling, I think that would have been better, because we don't want too much of him, just boom, here he is, but more sprinkling of him, because,
and just to go to Michael Keaton, how he's playing Beetlejuice, I feel like on the first movie, he was way more, so he was animated on this one, but on the, he was like a toned down version, like he wasn't doing different voices every time he talked, he wasn't doing like over the top. He was still Beetlejuice, but he was Beetlejuice in image.
Yes, and he had
for the
some.
most
I
part.
feel like it was like his demeanor. Like he had some good one-liners.
Oh, he had some great one-liners, dude.
Yeah,
Great
we'll
one-liners.
save those
in
ones
this
for
one.
you guys. I'm like they're too good to say here.
Yeah, he had some sexual innuendos that he was saying that were, it was great. Like it was an audible laugh from the crowd when he said certain things where it was like, dude, this is funny.
You're like, okay, cool. I remember.
So that I will give points to that. Like I did actually laugh throughout the movie. I did laugh throughout the movie. It wasn't like a laugh here, 10 minutes go by. I did laugh a number of times throughout the movie where I was like, okay, this is funny. This is funny.
Yeah.
So they did a good job with that. So that, it was a good feel on the funniness.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we were probably at that point, right? Yeah. I feel like we both have an opinion, but I feel like you feel
now,
more strongly
Did
about
you go first the last time? You went first the last time.
I went first last time. Doesn't mean I have to go second, but I feel like you feel pretty passionate, and we can have different scores.
Yeah,
right?
It's going to be a different score. You know what? I'm not going to base my score off of yours, but you go first again. You go first again. Because you're definitely going to have a better score than me. You're definitely, because when we walked out, the whole time I was just like, when we were walking back to the car, I was just like, why was this movie made? Like, why did we need this?
I feel like on the ride back, we got a chance to kind of convince each other on both, me to talk a little bit about it in a positive way, him to kind of show me, hey, but don't.
And I wasn't totally crapping on it.
No, not at all. Not at all. But we got to be fair. We got to be fair.
There was some things that, like, I was like,
When he pointed them out, then I was like, you know what? Actually, I did. It's not until you have at least a couple minutes to digest it that you really.
But see, it's the original feel we're going off of. So
That's
when we
why
left,
too.
when we left the film, you definitely liked the movie more than I did.
Yes,
definitely. So
sure.
what do you think?
So
out of 10. 7 is good.
Yeah.
8 is great. 6. What would 6 be?
Yeah, I think it's still not bad, but it's not. I feel like 5 is where you're like,
5 is mid.
Yeah, that's like.
5 is mid.
Yeah,
because we gave The Crow 4.
Yeah, so I feel like if you're given like a 6, like even that's still saying I would go watch it, like, and it's not like bad. We're going whole numbers, right?
Yeah, 6 would still be go watch it. Definitely.
I mean, I was just
and
trying
it
to
was
break it
not.
down.
It was not a bad movie to me.
No, yeah.
Even when I give my score, it was not a bad movie.
So if we go acting, we'll go acting. I feel like top tier. For the most part.
It was good.
Yeah.
Because it's exaggerated. They're exaggerated.
They exaggerated.
They all played it to what that character was written.
Absolutely.
And the acting was spot on.
Yeah.
Especially the mom, dude. The mom was
great.
The mom was probably
Catherine
my favorite.
O'Hara
she was probably my favorite character.
Oh, for sure. And
she was probably like, this movie could have just been her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like she's good.
I feel like her and Michael Keaton, maybe if they put more scenes with them,
that
that probably would have helped out.
Yeah, they could have just had them in the movie. It could have been their movie on a desert island.
Yeah.
Just them, dude.
Yeah.
She crashes in a plane.
She is just by herself.
She has nobody.
She's like, I know somebody.
She sees a flyer. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like in the sand, in a bottle. It's coming up from the ocean. You know what I mean? Like that would have been cool.
Is this worth it? All right. At least I'll have somebody.
Because Lydia was the same. You know what? Lydia was kind of more. She was more just like she let the boyfriend just like kind of use her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she was so like forgiving of the boyfriend and just like, oh, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So she kind of like gave up. She was kind of like a lesser version of the original teen angst goth Lydia.
Yeah. That's a good point.
She wasn't as hipster. She wasn't.
Less opinionated.
Her daughter was Lydia from the first movie.
Yes.
You know
and I think that was
they
the intent.
gave her character Lydia.
Yeah. But that's interesting. It is weird that they made her so kind of like.
She was very passive and just
very
just
passive.
Like, okay.
It was like, all right.
Oh, but you know what? I'm not going to give away the spoilers, but now I remember why she was so passive, because of things. Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It was dulling her.
Oh yeah. So. Gotcha. Well, so if we think about acting, I would say top level. Story, a little too convoluted. That's a little bit in the lower area. Practical effects, great. I thought fantastic, shocking.
Yeah.
Dialogue, pretty good, pretty funny.
Yeah.
So I think all that said,
it was good.
Oh man. All that said,
don't go too low, dude.
I'm not gonna go too low. I'm not gonna go too low, because you know what? I feel like with these interviews, with these reviews, I mixed up both those words now.
Yeah.
With these reviews, we're always gonna try to see the glass half full. Like with The Crow, we gave a 4. Yeah. That's a pretty good score.
And that could definitely be a 3
exactly.
or a 2 movie.
Totally,
right?
totally.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go, and you can agree with me or not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
8, okay.
I'm gonna give it an 8.
Okay.
I know, yeah.
So this was a fun time.
I had a fun time.
Yeah. So that's cool. I can see that though. Yeah. I can see a certain film goer seeing this as this was fun. You take your kids to it. He dropped an F-bomb, but in the original he dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah.
And
then,
it was so crazy because the original was PG. We looked it up.
Oh, I know.
Because he dropped an F-bomb in the first one. And we looked it up and it was PG. Dude, the 80s were grimy, dude.
Time. I think at that time, at that time maybe PG-13 wasn't even a thing yet. I think maybe that's why.
It was either PG
it
or
was
R.
established.
I
don't remember. Yeah, so I might have to look that up. But
so 8, okay, I can see that.
Because if I think about 7, just doesn't feel like justice. I feel like it would be. It'd be like a high 7, but that's not. You know what I mean?
It seems too low.
Yeah. So if we're going a whole number,
because 7's good. 7's good.
Yeah.
All right, so overall, I would say the acting was cool. The storyline lost me at multiple moments.
Yep.
The over-sanitized version of the music and the visuals kind of threw me out of it. And so I have to adjust for that, because I would have, and I'm about to get crucified for this, I would have given this movie a 7. I would have given it a 7 for good. Right? But this is a movie that I never have to see again, that I don't care to see again. I don't care what happened. I forgot so many things. Even walking to the car, JC was just reminding me oh yeah, no, it's because of this. And I'm like, what? How did I miss that? You know what I mean? Dude, I think I'm going to have to, since we're doing just whole numbers, bro, no halves.
Yeah.
Because I would give it a 6.5.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go 6?
Yeah, I'm going 6.
6, that's not bad. 8.
So what is a 6?
6 is okay.
7 is good.
6 is okay.
6 is okay.
I think 6 is good. 6 is
okay.
5 is where it's
This will be a movie. I don't own the original Beetlejuice. I am a Tim Burton fan, but the movies I own from Tim Burton are Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas, Sleepy Hollow I love.
Oh, yeah, nice. Sleepy Hollow.
So I am a Tim Burton fan, but this movie I do not need to own. I don't own the first one. I don't need to own this one. Definitely not. If I ever found the first one for $2, I'd probably buy it. Or I wouldn't even spend $5 on the first one. But Beetlejuice
You're getting real on us now.
Well, no, but Beetlejuice was never one of those this is my favorite. I like Mars Attacks.
Oh yeah. Oh,
more than Beetlejuice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've never been the biggest Beetlejuice fan, and as not a huge Beetlejuice fan, and to not have a lot of Beetlejuice in this, it really took me out. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go 6, man. I'm gonna go 6 on this one, which doesn't make it a bad movie.
I think on Rotten Tomatoes, a 60% is a fresh tomato.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I give this a fresh tomato. It's a tomato.
It's probably just a little ripe. But you're I'll still eat it.
It's a little green.
I don't know if I would buy this again, but I'll eat it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm not gonna buy the tomato from the same farmer's market.
There you go. Yeah.
But
you might go to that same farmer's market to buy something else.
Next week.
You're not gonna give up on Tim Burton because of this.
No. I'm a huge Tim Burton fan in terms of even when he doesn't do really weird movies. I love Big Fish. Big Fish is one of my favorite movies ever, right? And that wasn't a weird, quirky movie. There were quirky, weird parts in it, right? It was magical overall, but it was more reality-based movie. That's one of my favorite Tim Burton movies. So yeah, 6. I mean, this is definitely not a purchase from me. I will watch it. I don't even know if I'll watch it again when it comes on Max, bro.
I think the tough thing is it's a sequel.
It's just the storyline did not catch me in terms of simplicity and focusing on the things that I think that most people are going to go to this movie wanting to focus on.
Yeah.
It was focusing on a lot of different things and not giving those things its fair shake in the movie. And that is my main gripe, is the storyline is a throwaway to me. Like, they just took multiple bad scripts that they didn't like, took the good things out of those bad scripts, and just popped them all into one script. It had funny parts in it. I laughed a lot, and not a lot. I laughed a good amount. In it all the way through. But overall, yeah, I just can't see myself ever watching this movie again. It's just like The Crow, I will never watch again. But there is a scene of The Crow that I'll probably watch, a 10-minute scene, right?
Yeah.
This movie, I can't even think about a 5-minute scene that I would be like, you know what, I'm not going to watch this whole movie, but let me see this one part because it was good. You know, I don't even have that for this. And that sucks, but I'm not the biggest Beetlejuice fan, though. So if you're a Beetlejuice fan, you might see more out of this. You know what I mean? If Beetlejuice is one of your favorite movies, I could see you giving it an 8. Nobody's ever going to give this movie a 9. It'll never get to 9 status. But an 8, you could stretch it to an 8, depending on your fandom.
Yeah. I mean, and to clarify too, which, right, this is not anything bad by any means. I still gave it an 8, but I'm like, it's like an 8-0, like an 80. Like, I'm like on the cusp of a 7, but I'm like, I feel like giving it a 7.
It's better than a 7 for you. Yeah. You don't want to drop it all the way down.
Yes.
I get it. It's like a 7.7.
Yeah. It's like a top tier 7.
It's over a 7.5.
Yes.
Yeah. So that makes sense. I could definitely see that. And like I was saying, since we're not doing half numbers, I would give this movie a 6.5.
Yeah.
Right? So I would give it, technically I would round it up to 7, but I don't want to give it a 7. So I have to go to 7.
No, I'm just kidding.
So I have to give it a 6 because I don't want to give it a 7. So I have to give it a 6, but it's a middle of the road 6. It's not. So
I think if we took,
it's something to go to the movies. Something to go to the movies and watch.
We'll go
one
like
time
this.
watch
Split
it.
the difference. 6, 8, 7. The cumulative review.
Cumulative score 7.
Yep.
So whenever we have a differing score, we'll do that.
Perfect.
It's a 7 out of 10. It's good.
Yep.
It's a good movie.
Beetlejuice. Don't say it again.
Don't say it again, bro.
It's right there.
All right, well, thanks for watching, guys. This was the review, the fresh out review of Beetlejuice. So, yeah.
I'm JC.
And I'm Cood.
Thanks for watching.
And this is Beetlejuice. Yeah. Peace.
See ya.
Serious, dude.
All right. Here we go.
Serious show.
All right. Welcome to Fresh Out. There we go. Here it is.
All right, we're in there.
Welcome to Fresh Out. I'm JC.
And I'm Rob.
And this is Damn. All right. We'll kick things on once it starts.
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go.